As far as recoveries go, this one's been crappy. There's no doubt about it. If you go back to the last two big recessions, the middle part of the 1970s, late part of the 1980s, after those recessions came to an end, the U.S. economy grew at an accelerated pace. That is to say, almost 6% per year, quickly getting us back up to long-run levels of output. In other words, there was no impediment to long-run trends. We have been growing at more or less a little over 3% per year forever, and that's never been altered despite the ups and downs of recessions and recoveries. This time around, something fundamental really has happened. As you see on the left-hand side here, that yellow line is what would have happened had we continued to grow at a normal pace, about 2.5% per year. The white line is what's actually happened. We hit bottom, and we started growing normally. And that's very unusual. Usually, we have in a period of accelerated growth. It has not happened this time. Consumer spending is not low. In fact, on the left-hand side there, that's consumer spending as a percent of GDP. Currently running 71% of GDP. To give you some long-run perspective on this, prior to the last decade, it's never been higher than 65%. Then, of course, over the course of the last decade, because of the two asset bubbles, it rose close to 70%. And then we had a wonderful series of tax cuts that pushed it up to 71%. Consumer spending has never been such a high share of the U.S. economy. And ultimately, consumer spending has to fall relative to the overall economy. After all, it's taxes and regulations. It's large government that's killing the U.S. economy. Well, yet again, that's completely false. Over the course of the last decade, Americans have paid very little of their income in form of taxes. In fact, right now, overall taxes as a percent of income are running 17%. We've seen some of the lowest marginal tax rates in the U.S. economy that we have over the last 50 years. Has it given us a decade of the strongest growth ever? No, actually not. The last decade has been one of the weakest decades. Now, I'm not suggesting, of course, the idea that somehow or other lowering tax rates means lower growth. Of course, that's silly. Obviously, there's other things that are happening inside the U.S. economy. But nevertheless, the idea, the concept that tax rates, marginal tax rates, are the be-all and end-all, and if you just lower those tax rates some, the U.S. economy is going to go bolting forward, well, folks, that's a lie. It's just flat out, simply a lie. There's no empirical evidence. For the record, I'm not pro-union. I don't like paying taxes. So what is the problem? Well, trade deficits and construction. That's the big deal out there today. Construction, typically 7.5% of GDP, today running about 5% of GDP. You get that up to normal, that's 40% of the output gap. As for trade deficits, yet again, we are a nation that's exporting far less than we're importing. And ultimately what that means is most of the efforts that have been made to boost consumer spending haven't boosted American production. They boosted foreign production. Because more or less those taxes have done nothing more than stimulate demand for U.S. imports. In other words, if I may summarize, we're borrowing trillions of dollars from the Chinese to stimulate the Chinese economy. Not the best plan in the world.